The 2018 Arab Youth Survey has just been published. Here are 5 of the most notable findings. You're watching Inside AB. My name's Jeremy Lawrence and I'm joined here in the studio by Eddie Taylor. Eddie, you've been looking at the report this last few days. You picked out these 5 key findings really among the many that were there. Let's start with the first one, media.
This was the one that kind of really jumped off the page to me when I saw it. 63% of young Arabs aged between 18 and 24 get their primary news now from social media, and 49% use Facebook as their daily source of news. And for the first time ever, social media has replaced TV as the main way that young people get their news in this region, which is a real kind of massive shift in the last 10 years.
So young people here, they're mobile, they're connected, and this is how they interact with the world.
Yeah, I think it's 2 things really. I think maybe there's an element of lack of trust in established media sources. It's probably just more to do with media consumption habits, that their mobile phones are always on them and their Facebook timelines is just a kind of a constant companion to their daily lives, and that's how they're absorbing information. Obviously there's dangers within that.
Fake news.
Fake news is obviously the big thing. Bear in mind these results were done before the Cambridge Analytica scandal, so I don't know whether next year that's going to have any kind of impact on what they believe is credible or trustworthy. But for the previous year up to then, Facebook was still a very, very credible and trusted source.
Okay, let's talk about Russia. That's popped onto the survey as never before.
Yeah, there was a question that was basically looking at which of the foreign powers and the foreign countries the most Arab youth kind of look up to and believe is their country's ally. And for the first time in a while, America dropped out of the top 5, the USA. Lots of reasons for that. You could look at kind of Obama's disengagement from the region as possibly a part of that. You've maybe got some legacy of the Iraq War, some lack of the trustworthiness elements kind of percolating through, particularly in relation to its attitude towards Syria, but also with the non-brokerage of peace in Israel and Palestine.
Trump clearly not popular.
I think that probably remains to be seen in a way, but I think it probably shows you that there is no hope that Trump is going to engage in a better way. And I think that I actually imagine that if we did these results next year, looking at what we've seen with the Iran decision and with the embassy in Jerusalem, I think they're probably even lower. But I think that Russia's actually kind of stepped into that vacuum. And I think it's Hussein Ibish wrote the commentary piece around it, and he said it's very interesting that Russia might have stepped in, but now it's going to be held more accountable for what it does do in the region. So again, it's a very fluid picture. This shouldn't be seen as any way kind of static or baked in.
Okay. You've lived in Jordan, so you were particularly interested in the decline of the Levant.
These statistics, I mean, talk about 2 different regions, the GCC and the Levant, and even North Africa, really. I mean, the pessimism in the Levant is really kind of palpable. 86% of young people in the Levant believe that their country is going in the wrong direction. 88% in Jordan think their country is going in the wrong direction, which is actually higher than the Palestinian territories, where it's 83%.
Heartbreaking, really.
I mean, it's extraordinary. I mean, I think there are 2 reasons for this. Obviously, there's the ongoing conflict in Syria, there's the ongoing occupation in Palestine, but I think a big thing is just complete lack of economic opportunity. There's a real stagnation that's going on in the economies of these countries. They're simply not doing a good enough job of providing jobs, of providing quality education, providing hope for this generation.
And people also mentioned corruption as being a big thing that they were concerned about.
Yeah, that's
so you've got that as well. People don't see a level playing field.
Yeah, almost a third of people think that removing government corruption is the one thing that they need to do in order to move their country back on the right path. And that's crippling these countries.
Okay, well that leads us nicely to our 4th conclusion for this, which was the popularity of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia.
I mean, obviously he's an incredibly popular figure amongst the youth in Saudi Arabia. What was also interesting is just how many young people across the Arab world really believe in the vision that he's espoused since he came into power at the back end of last year. I think he's really speaking a language that they understand. He's kind of striking on a lot of the notes that the Arab youth survey the last 10 years has hit upon: lack of opportunity, endemic corruption, education. These kind of things really, really mean a lot to the Arab youth, and he's really kind of set about with his Vision 2030, looking to kind of redress these and come up with a proper action plan to look at the youth in the region and find out what he can do to address these problems.
And 88% said that they support the decision to allow women drivers.
Yeah, what was actually interesting was just sort of how high the figures were for support of not just the women learning, being able to drive, but also wanting their governments to do more to elevate the status of women and give them more and equal opportunities in these societies. But that's really encouraging.
Encouraging, as you say, but that also puts him under a lot of pressure. He's kind of now the symbol of hope for people across the region.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to live up to.
When you've got an economy like Saudi Arabia's that's so reliant on hydrocarbon, so reliant on oil revenues, he's basically got to kind of rip up that template and rebuild it from the ground up. And that's not going to be an easy thing, and he's going to be held accountable for all of the things, all the promises that he's made. So as you say, yeah, it's great that people are responding to what he's saying, but he's now got to deliver.
Okay. Let's talk about seems like the perpetual good news story for the region, which is the UAE, still the most popular country in the region.
I think that everything that we've been talking about opportunity, about the economic conditions, about security, about terrorism, about ongoing conflict, when you look at across the region, everybody sees the UAE as a beacon of hope. It's somewhere that they want to live in. It's also the country that they want their own countries in the region to emulate. So the UAE is clearly doing a lot of things right when it comes to empowering and providing opportunities to its youth. For the 7th year in a row, it is the country that most Arab youth want to live in. And that's a testament to the kind of policies and the kind of environment that it's managed to create.
But in his commentary on this finding, Raed Bakawi, Al-Khalij editor, said it was the ongoing appeal is bittersweet.
I think that's really going back to what we were saying before. As good as the UAE is in terms of providing opportunity and providing security, that's also a reflection of just how bad it is in other parts of the GCC. And even
the Arab world.
The Arab world, sorry, beg your pardon. So even somewhere like Lebanon, where youth unemployment is much less than it is in somewhere like Jordan or the Palestinian territories, they still all want to leave, and they either want to go to the US, Canada, or they want to come to the UAE to find opportunity. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in the Levant to try and stop that net migration out to the UAE.
And if we sum up this whole report, I guess we can say that the concerns of the youth, they're very sort of, I think Sunil John from ASDA'A, who founded the report, said they're kitchen table aspirations. They want jobs, they want a level playing field, they want a lack of corruption. They're not asking for the world, are they, the youth in the region?
And that's an interesting point, because the 10 years of the Arab Youth Survey, we've seen not only just conflict, we've also seen the Arab uprisings, which offered this kind of great opportunity and great hope for a kind of a new democratic future. And I think that the promises of the Arab Spring have fizzled away and have been replaced with very much the same old structures as before politically. So I think that what the young people, with a sense of resignation and sense of disappointment now, aren't looking to political representation as a means to offer them hope. They're actually looking to the structures that are now here to say, well, listen, if this is the way we're going to be governed, then at least listen to us and give us the things, give us the education, give us the jobs that we want, that's going to allow us to stay where we are, because we don't want to leave. That's going to allow us to stay where we are and provide the future that we want for ourselves and our family.
Great. Okay. Well, it was a fantastic report as ever. 2018 Arab Youth Survey, the 10th year that's been running, and great to see those findings. Okay, you've been watching Inside AB. Please do join us every weekday at 10 a.m. and do comment, subscribe, and share.